Hey, greetings there, fellow maker. Bill here. This is Prop Live Q&A, your weekly prop and costume making question and answer session. Is that what I usually say? I'm out of practice. Thanks for being here. We're live on Twitch, twitch.tv/punishprops, every week, Thursdays, 5 Pacific. That's where we are right now. We got the Prop Tarts hanging out with us right now down in the chat. You can see them right there. We got Nerdy Views, we got Bio Cosplay, we got Rocket Man Props, Corium 9, Core Geek. We've got all the cool kids, Silent Warlock, Alex Suavely, all the cool kids hanging out, sending us their prop and costume making questions. And since I just did some Nerf modding with my buddy Evil Ted, we're going to see if we can tackle some Nerf modding and painting questions. So if you've got those questions, you're watching live, send those in, punishprops.com/live. There's a form there to get your questions to me. What's going on? Well, we've got some cool action going on. Where is it? Totally ready for this. Talk about the Prop Tarts. The Prop Tarts of Punished Props. For those of you who are not initiated, let me hide my thing here real quick. Go to my web browser. There it is. The Prop Tarts are the coolest group of the coolest makers on planet Earth. We got people showing off their awesome builds, like this giant foam sword and this other giant foam sword, and someone asking questions about vacuum forming and a giant foam gun, and people talking about Anime Weekend Atlanta, and also this handsome fella here who won the costume contest at Renton City Comic Con this last weekend, where we were hanging out. That's the Prop Tart group. That's our wonderful gang of makers and friends on the internet. There is a Facebook page. If you look up the Prop Tarts on Facebook, you can find them. You can join them. You can share all the stuff you're working on. There's a new Go Prop Yourself challenge. That's a monthly, usually monthly challenge where the Prop Tarts will challenge themselves. I believe they're building robots this month. Yes, there it is. They're building a $20 robot challenge. This is the Go Prop Yourself challenge. So, do yourself a favor. Head on over there. Join the group. Check out what they're working on. Join the challenge. Challenge yourself. Learn some new skills. And have a good time. Those are the Prop Tarts. They're the very best people on planet Earth. And thank you guys so much for joining us. A bunch of them are in the chat right now. Let's see. I see a question in the chat right now that got posted. Just a quick reminder, if you have a question you want me to answer on this show, go to punishprops.com/live. Fill out the form right there. Send us your question. Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. Before we get started, Britt posted something cool in here that she thinks I should share with you. She's usually right about these things. We've been playing a lot of Destiny 2 lately, trying to get caught up on the old Destiny game, and I guess they posted a bunch of artwork on ArtStation. If you guys are unfamiliar, ArtStation is a place where a lot of video game artists will share their work, their concept art, 3D models. Well, they don't share the pictures of the models, but if you need good reference images of some really cool things from video games like super cool space guns, that's a great place to go. So the Destiny 2 Art Parade, there is just some fantastic artwork here. And if you're looking to build something like this super crazy cool looking gun here, or it's not the Meta Multi-Tool, it's the Meta Mini Tool or something like that. That's pretty high. I kind of want to make that. It's really awesome. Scroll down and skip to the next to avoid game spoilers. Oh, okay. Well, I don't think I've seen any spoilers yet. But anyway, that's some really cool stuff. Really good artwork. Really awesome stuff worth checking out. I'm just going to look at this. This is my favorite thing. Alright, pretty soon here I'm going to have to pick something to make from Destiny 2. Been playing a bunch, and I've got a bunch of things that I like a little bit, but I haven't committed yet. Not yet, but soon. Alright, cool. I'm going to start answering some questions. Once again, punishprops.com/live if you want to submit your question. Also, if you're looking for a question to ask, then maybe ask something about Nerf modding, because here's a gun I modded. Nerf gun that I modded with my buddy Evil Ted. By the way, the videos that Ted and I are each making will come out on Monday. Try to set this down. There we go. So videos coming out on Monday, and each one of us is going to put our guns on eBay, and people can bid on them, and some lucky person will win it. A little bit of a competitive thing. See which one of us makes a little extra scratch from our guns. That should be really cool. Building it along with Ted was super awesome. Ted was here for a couple days. That was a lot of fun. His gun's right over there. Hold on, I'm gonna go grab it. There's Ted's gun. It's got a chainsaw. The brain saw. There's Ted's gun. Ted left it here because I'm going to handle all of the auction stuff. So, there we go. Awesome. You're all caught up. That's what's happening this week and next. It's time for some questions. First one is from Jonathan. He's curious if there's a way to search previous questions and find the episode that it was answered in. Okay, so this is more of like a technical question. If you go to our website, punishprops.com, which is right here, you can... I'm trying to figure out if there's a good way to do this. To go to one of our episodes, you can see the notes from the episode and all the questions. Now, not all of our episodes are have the questions posted in them. So this is something Brittany started doing kind of recently. But the questions are there. So if you search the search bar for a specific thing, you might come up with it. Now, this is a thing that's really hard to do. It's a lot of metadata to sift through for our website. So I can't promise you're going to find exactly what you need, but it might help. So if I look up vacuum forming, see what shows up. There's some other videos. The ones with green, the ones with green are the Prop Live shows. So there you go. So in the Egg Sisters cosplay one, we talked about vacuum forming. And if we go down, you can see all the questions. And you can probably just hit Control F. Vacuum. So that episode potentially covers vacuum forming. Again, I don't know. I know that's not it's not crazy helpful, but it's kind of the best we can do. So there you go, Jonathan. Tiny bit of help for you. Good luck if you're trying to search our website for anything specific. All right, next question from Hayden. Hey, Bill, have you ever thought of making a Blade Runner pistol? If you have or have not done so, do you think you would build one? So, I'm a prop maker, and the Blade Runner gun is like the prop maker's rite of passage, I think. At some point, every prop maker has to do their own take on it. So, a couple things about the Blade Runner gun. I have a kit, a pre-made kit that I bought from a friend of mine. It's a pretty good kit. And at some point, I will put that together. Whether or not I do that before the new movie comes out, unlikely. However, one of our prop darts, one of our fans, sent me the Squirt gun. In fact, if we can find it, we'll put a link to... Actually, I'll just find it right now on YouTube. Adam Savage got one of these Squirt guns as well. He got a couple of them. Squirt gun. And there it is. How lucky is that? Anyway, he got a pair of them. And they're Blade Runner guns. They're Blade Runner pistols. And one of our prop tarts sent me one. So I have one of those. It's a fully functional squirt gun. And I'm probably going to do a repaint on it. I'm going to paint mine to look more realistic. I'm going to keep the squirting mechanism usable because I want to be able to squirt with it. So I'm going to do that. So those are my current Blade Runner gun plans. I got a decent kit I'm going to put together at some point. And I have the squirt gun that I will try and repaint before the new movie comes out. Those are my current Blade Runner plans. At some point in my life, I will probably do like a super legit one. I don't know. Maybe I was actually looking at some of the art from the new movie. There's some other guns that look pretty cool. I might want to make those. We'll see. But look forward to the squirt gun. Thank you, Hayden. Moving on. Oh, actually, let me point one thing out real quick about the Blade Runner gun. I can't remember who did it, but on the RPF years ago, someone made a snub-nosed Blade Runner gun. Let me see if I can find a picture of that real quick. Yeah, just doing a Google image search here. There are some different versions here. This snub-nosed version right here, or this one here, I can't remember who did that, but if anyone listening has one of those super legit kits, right, I would like to buy it. I'm just throwing that out there. Only a few of them were made. They're kind of rare. I think it's wicked cool. And if anyone listening to the sound of my voice has one, I will purchase it. So get a hold of me. All right. That has been the Blade Runner Pistol Minute with Bill. We're going to move on to the next question from Brooks Creations. Hey, Bill, my girlfriend and I will be visiting Seattle next week for a few days. We were wondering if there's anything you would recommend we see or do before leaving. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay. I hope you like beer, and I hope you like coffee. So drink all the coffee in the morning and all the beer at night, because we got places to do all of those things. Don't go to Starbucks. Go to one of the other... I'm not really a coffee snob, but there are lots of good coffee places in Seattle. But there are some cool brew pub type places you can go. The Elysian is awesome. A lot of good beer, a lot of good food. The Pike Place Brewery is pretty cool. That's right down by the Pike Place Market. It's pretty fantastic. And then nowadays they're calling the Sci-Fi Museum the MoPop, the Museum of Pop Culture. Go to that. Go through there's science fiction, there's fantasy, there's a Star Trek exhibit. I believe right now they're doing the Jim Henson exhibit. It might be $5 extra, but it's worth it. There's a horror section, there's movie props from all sorts of stuff. They let you take pictures, they let you take video. So definitely go to the MoPop. It's right by the Space Needle. You can also go to the Pacific Science Center. It's right there. You can go up the Space Needle if you want. That's pretty fun. So yeah, drink beer, drink coffee, go to the MoPop. There you go. The full Seattle experience. And I hope you have a good time in Seattle. We like it here an awful lot. Let's move on here. I'm going to quickly remind anyone watching live, if you have a question you'd like to send in, go to punishprops.com/live. That's where you send in your questions. We just finished some Nerf modding with Evil Dead. This is my Nerf gun. So if you have any Nerf specific questions, maybe send in one of those. If there's anything you want to know about Nerf guns, you think I might know the answer, go ahead and post them. Thank you very much for your questions. You guys are awesome. I also want to point out, we just got a subscription from Bent Canuck for 14 months in a row. Thank you so much. And Kagar Props just joined us. Thanks for sneaking in, Kagar. I see you there. And Rocket Man says he spends all his time in Seattle eating. That's fair. There's a lot of really good places to eat. All right, let's grab our next question. This one comes to us from Corium9. Zombie recently did a video that included getting a cheap-ish Pip Boy from the Spirit Halloween store. In addition to that, I picked up a big thing of liquid latex. What else do you guys go to the store to pick up? Talking about stuff from Spirit Halloween. We were actually, when we were hanging out with Ted, we went through the Spirit Halloween website, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. Now, quick note, too. If you pick up the liquid latex from the Halloween store, that is not the same as something like Poly Latex 60, something that we would use to seal EVA foam. I did use that in my book. This was before I knew the difference between different kinds of latex. So don't get your liquid latex from Spirit Halloween and try and use it to seal your foam. That's going to be a bad time. But there's lots of other really awesome stuff. So we were just checking this out the other day. If I look up Pip Boy, you'll see they got a Volt jumpsuit. That looks pretty crappy. But the Pip Boy for $25 looks really fantastic. Like, that's pretty good for $25. Not bad at all. Got the bottom of it there. Got the top of it there. That looks all right. What I also saw is that they have a power armor helmet from Fallout. Now, I predict that this is rubber, I'm going to guess. But that looks pretty good for $30. $30 for real? Like, it's worth it just to have it. Look all the way around. It's got, it actually has a decent paint job. It's not amazing, but it's decent. Got some good comments down here. What else did we see? We saw a lot. I was actually pleasantly surprised. Let's see what the $40 Master Chief helmet gets you. Like, that's all right. That's pretty good for $40. Kylo Ren looks pretty good. That's just a creepy face thing. I wonder if they have chrome masks. Let's see if they have any of those. Yeah, $8. Chrome faceless mask. That's a pretty good price for that. So, there you go. If you want your Pip Boy action, you want this creepy blank white face thing, or dark bunny, then go for it. I am pretty blown away with the quality of the again, it's not like the crazy high quality thing, but it is pretty damn good for the money. There's a voice changer. Oh, look at that. But that's for $10, that's worth trying. Totally. All right. Whoop. There we go. Cool. That came to us from Corium 9. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. That's really cool. A lot of fun stuff. Next one here comes to us from Travis. Travis would like to know, the EVA foam I have is really flexible. What do you suggest using to make the foam more rigid? Okay, so here's my thing with foam, with EVA foam. I use it because it's flexible. It's easier to get into more complex curves than like Sintra or MDF or ABS plastic than flat rigid plastics. I like that it's flexible. Also, when I'm packing it in my costume or in my crate to ship it places, if I'm jamming it in there and I'm getting beat up at a convention, not beat up, but I'm not gentle on my costumes. If it flexes, it won't crack. So one of the main reasons why I use EVA foam so much is because I like that it's flexible. Now, if there's a reason why you want it to be more rigid, you can fiberglass it. You can just brush on fiberglass resin or epoxy, put fiberglass cloth on it, and you can make it super rigid. That's how we did the helmets for our Draugr costume. In fact, I'll look that up right now, and we can. I'll show you. So there's a lot of different stuff. You can use Epsilon or Epsilon Pro, which are epoxies that you can put many layers on to make it more rigid. So if you look up our buddy Core Geek, I don't know if he's still in the chat, but that's what he likes doing because he's a crazy man. But the helmets, let's cruise down here. The helmets started as EVA foam, but then they were fiberglass and Bondo. They're perfectly rigid. That's a lot of extra work. Look at all that Bondo. Lots of sanding, but they are super, super rigid. So if that's what you need, then great. Go for it. And we made those rigid specifically because we wanted them to have a lot of fine detail on them. And that's hard to get in a more flexible material. So there you go. That is definitely an option. Although I will say for most builds since then, I've made sure to keep... I prefer to keep that foam more flexible. All right, let's keep moving here. Thank you, Travis. Good question. This next one comes to us from Emerald Cosplay. We got some Nerf questions. For Nerf guns, what do you use as a base coat before painting the plastic? When I tried to paint my Nerf gun, the paint looked really bad. Alright, so the first thing you got to do is use something like a Scotch-Brite pad or some steel wool to scuff up the surface. In fact, I got a great video on this. I did a video with my pals Brian and Jason from the Modern Rogue on Nerf modding. That was really fun. So, if we go here. Here's some painting we did. And we did some sanding. We used a Scotch-Brite pad. There we go. We used a Scotch-Brite pad just to scuff up the surface. That way, whatever paint that goes on there, it will have a little bit of something to grip onto. When it comes out of a mold, that ABS plastic is super shiny and stuff doesn't want to stick to it. So, number one, scuff it up a bit. Use a Scotch-Brite pad or steel wool or something like that, or a high grit sandpaper. Step two, use a primer or one of my favorites, Krylon camo paint. So this stuff is great. Now, a lot of it's their fusion. It's designed to go on plastic. This is a flat paint that is designed to go on plastic. It does a great job. Now, a couple of caveats. If you live in California, apparently it's a different formula. It's not as good. But up here in Washington, we use the good stuff. It says dries to the touch in 15 minutes or less. This is one of the only spray paints I've found where that is actually true. Dry to handle after an hour. This stuff dries super, super fast, especially if you're in a dry, warm area. So that is the Krylon camouflage paint. It dries fast and it bonds really well to plastic. So I will use that stuff like a primer. Usually like the flat black, if it's going to be like a gun or something. Alex in the chat says, I use adhesion promoter for plastic. That's a really good idea too. So like Bulldog adhesion promoter. If you find whatever it is you're doing isn't sticking, the paint isn't sticking, then you can put down some adhesion promoter. Nope. Trying to find it. Go down. Nope. Come on. There it is. This stuff here. So, like, if you're trying to paint on metal or really annoying plastic, this stuff is really cool. So, Bulldog, we'll post a link to all this stuff. That stuff's great. I'd like to pause for a moment and point out that Hey Patch just showed up super late, but we're happy to have you, buddy. Thanks for being here. And Hey Patch has been putting out some cool YouTube videos. I'm looking forward to the next one. Keep it up. Krylon has a primer as well. That's good. I like the which primer? The Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch. I like that primer. They sell it at Home Depot. They do not sell it at Lowe's. So there you go. There's some tips on getting paint on your Nerf gun. Good luck with your build there, Emerald Cosplay. Oh, by the way, too, once you put your that base coat on, your primer or that Krylon stuff, then whatever paint you put on top of that should bond pretty well. All right, let's keep going here. Modesty541 had a similar question about primer or filler. I didn't do any filling on mine, although Ted did fill in the screw holes on his gun, and he just used Bondo or Evercoat's Formula 27, similar to Bondo. Core Geek is pointing out that the self-etching primer, it's automotive stuff, is pretty great too. I have never actually tried that. Duplicolor makes really good stuff though, and that's what this is here, self-etching primer. I'll have to give that a try. It says it etches and primes bare metal in one step, and in all automotive priming projects and for use on spot repairs. So if it can etch into metal, it's probably going to do the same thing to plastic. Cool. Let's move on from Modesty 541's question. Uncle Batman has a question about Nerf guns. Also, Nerdy Views has a similar question. For Nerf guns, how do you keep paint from scraping off moving parts? So that's just kind of the nature of the beast. I will say with this gun, the charging lever is here. and it's black plastic, and I just didn't paint it, right? So it's not going to wear off. Now, it may touch the inside of this rail, and you can even see there's a little bit of blue right there, but that's not going to be a problem for this particular gun, right? The trigger is going to move a little bit, but otherwise, with this particular model, not really a problem. But let me just set that off. Let me grab Ted's gun and see if we can come up with a good example. So Ted did something similar. Fortunately for him, the charging lever is this screwdriver, right? But it rides along this rail here, which is gray. He just didn't paint that. So it's not going to rub any paint off. So a little bit of planning and picking out a gun that's going to lend itself well to not being a problem is going to be helpful. Now, that might not always be the case. You may have a gun that's super cool, and the parts that are going to rub up against other parts are bright orange, and you're kind of like, ah, damn, that's going to suck. So you may be able to modify the pieces a little bit so they won't scrape very much. I kind of wish there was a way to dye ABS plastic, but there probably isn't. I don't know if one of you guys knows of a way to do that, then that would be awesome. Otherwise, you can paint it, and you can use, if you want to go crazy, you could use like automotive catalyzed paints. They're the kind of paints you got to use an air gun for. You put in a catalyst, they cure rock solid, and they're not going to scratch, or it'll take a really long time to scratch. So there you go. It's kind of the nature of the beast. But picking a gun where that's not going to be a problem is, or Cosmic Flux says, or plan on safety orange as part of your color scheme. That's a good idea. Alex Swavely says, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Alex. Use plastic dye, automotive interior in the automotive interior paint section. That's cool. I'll have to look up plastic dye, and perhaps give it a try at some point. So there you go. Thank you, Uncle Batman and Nerdy Views, for the question. I'm going to look up plastic dye real quick. Plastic and trim restorer. That says dye free. That's not what I wanted. RIT, no. Black bumper and trim dye kit. I bet that would do it. Look at this stuff. So this is for dyeing your bumper black. So I bet something like that will work. So that might be something I'll have to try. Let's grab the next question from Taverna. Bill, I'm going as Rick for the Comic-Con here in Brazil. Rick. Do you have any tips on how to dye your eye? Oh, Rick. Rick and Morty Rick. There we go. There are lots of Ricks. How can I dye my hair light blue? Okay. I have actually dyed my hair wacky colors before. It would be easier to do now since my hair is going white at a rapid rate. But when I was a young man, I bleached my hair. My hair is very dark, so bleaching it actually turned it like orange, like a really wacky orange. And then the problem is orange, blondish orange. Either way, I wanted to dye it like blue, right? So the problem is you get blue hair dye and you dye it in your hair and it mixes with that color. So it doesn't turn out the color you want, which is kind of a bummer. So you got to get your hair super white, which depends on what color your hair is. That might be really challenging. My hair is hard to do. So here's what I did. We got hair dye. Go to a beauty supply store. Hey, let's tell a story. I have a fun story. When I was in college, me and my friends liked to dye our hair wacky colors. My friend Joe was really good at it. He did it a lot, and he had like all the different colors of dye. We had hair stuff. Well, we had we had all our friends, but we ended up with a weird roommate for some weird reason that we didn't know, and we didn't really get along with. He was kind of weird. He said, I want to dye my hair pink, or no, red. He wanted to dye his hair red. So Joe said, I know how to do that. When you're going to do it, let me know. Also, don't use Kool-Aid. That's a dumb way to dye your hair. I have everything you need. Don't worry about it. Well, this guy went off and came out of the bathroom one day and was like, "Hey, I need some help bleaching my hair. My eyes are starting to sting." Joe was like, "Hey, why didn't you have me help you? Also, what are you doing?" He was in the shower with a gallon of Clorox bleach, dumping it on his head. Like, for real, that's a real thing a real person did. And I was there to witness it. So Joe was like, "Oh my God, stop dumping bleach on your head. That's ridiculous. Go rinse off. Holy crap, don't get any in your mouth, you crazy person." So the guy did that, and Joe helped him bleach his hair with actual hair bleach, which is what you should do. Go to a beauty supply store, get the real stuff. Then the guy was like, "Okay, cool." His hair was like super, super light, ready to go. And then he went and tried to bleach it or color it with Kool-Aid, even though Joe told him not to. And his hair was super pink. Super pink. Because the Kool-Aid just doesn't stick around. And it was super bright. And then when it started to wash out, even after a day, it turned pink. So there you go. Don't do any of that. Go to a beauty supply store. Get actual hair dye. Get someone to help you. Don't get it in your eyes. If your hair is super dark like mine, you may have to bleach it and then use a toner. When I did that, it ended up being very light, but also kind of had like a purple hue to it. So we bleached it again. So at that point, my hair was pretty much fried, but it was also almost white. And then you can go get actual hair dye, permanent hair dye, and use that for your coloring. So there you go. That's the longest way possible for me to tell you how to bleach your hair and color it so you can look like Rick. You could also make the hair out of foam and just put it on your head. All right, let's see. I went on a journey there. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Thank you to Verna for the question. Corey wants to know, do you know of an alternative to Plastidip? It's hard to find here in Australia, and when I can, it's very expensive. There are many ways you can seal your foam. We have a great video on it on our YouTube channel. You could use liquid latex rubber, like Polylatex 60, which we like a lot. You can use PVA glue or wood glue. Do tests on small pieces before you commit to a whole costume, by the way. Because wood glue can be kind of not flexible and crack a bit. But Mod Podge is a good PVA glue. There's liquid neoprene, like Creature Cast is really good. You could also just not seal your foam. You could just paint it with good acrylic paints, like the flexible ones, like the Angelus acrylic paints. So we'll link to the video that we have on foam sealing. Also, Kamui did one that was really good. We'll link to both of those in the show notes, so you can go check those out. But as far as if you want to do something like Plastidip, but not that brand, there's Flexidip, there's Peel Coat, there are other brands. I don't know if they're available in your country, and I don't know if they're more or less expensive. So there you go. That's the Plastidip talk. Awesome. And we just got hosted by Stella Chu. Thank you, Stella. You're awesome. Keep up the good work, and thank you everyone for hanging out. We got about 15 more minutes here and a handful more questions for prop and costume making techniques. So hope you hang out. Let's see. Let's grab another one. That last one was from Corey. Next one here is from Kyle. Have you ever tried or have you ever done a build that needed a chrome finish on foam? I have not, but my buddy Mike over at Chrome Effects Studios, if I can find it. Or is there no space? Is there no space in Chrome Effects? I can't remember how to spell your thing. Sorry, Mike. Anyway, he totally put Chrome on foam. I don't know exactly how he did it. Where's the page? Why can't I find it? Oh my god, it was amazing though. He had a piece of it and he handed it to me and I played with it and it was wicked cool. But I know it's similar to the thing that Frank did on a recent tested video. They put a chrome finish on the armor, the Lich King armor. There we go. Lich King. I think I spelled Lich King wrong. Lich, there it is. So it's a spray-on chrome thing. So we'll link to this video. Now, this system is not cheap. Like, putting an actual chrome, shiny chrome finish on foam or anything is not cheap. There's a whole thing. But if you want this legit solution, that's the way to do it. So he's got the helmet there. He's got spray thing and lots of, you gotta make sure everything's super clean, and then you can spray on the chrome thing and it looks really, really cool. Like, that is so cool. And I'm pretty sure this is the same solution that Mike from Chrome Effects Studios used to do the piece of foam he showed me, and it was still pretty flexible. It was really cool. There you go. That question came to us from Kyle. I'm sorry to have to lead you down the path of a very, very expensive solution, but that's how it is. Let's grab another one here. This comes from Harrison H. Any tips for keeping up costume making while in a college dorm with limited space? Well, you're gonna have to pick projects that lend themselves to the space that you've got, or see if there's a local like maker space that you can use, or you could rent storage space somewhere nearby to keep all your stuff in, or find a friend nearby that's got a shop or a garage, and you could share that space. That's, I mean, the real thing is get out of your dorm room. Either build small or get out of your dorm room and make some friends. And that can also be really great because you may go to a shop or a friend's place and they already have tools you can use. So make a lot of friends. Also, Foundry 13 says a lot of colleges have makers clubs now. That's fantastic. Yeah, I bet you have like wood shop in your college. See what they got. Let's grab another one here. Well, last one came to us from Harrison H. Thank you. Brent has a question for us. I'm 3D modeling and printing some chest and back armor. This is the largest and most complicated thing I've ever printed. Any general advice for 3D printing and working on large pieces of armor? Well, the only big thing I've printed has been the helmet, the tank trooper helmet. And the main thing you can do that's going to help you out is when you're separating your armor pieces so that you print it in parts so that you can print them all on a small printer. Unless you have a printer that can print giant pieces, but unlikely. Along the seams, when you cut the seams apart, along those seams, model in holes, right? Now, they don't have to be like exactly the hole you need. They can be just kind of like placeholders. I ended up using finishing nails, so I modeled the holes the diameter of a finishing nail, and I only made them like a 1/4 inch deep. They don't have to be super deep either. I ended up drilling them out anyway. What's important though is that they are in the right placement, so that when you're gonna print those two parts out and then stick them together, you can put those pegs in those holes, and then when you sock them together, they will all line up. Not necessarily perfectly, but pretty darn close. I've seen people do similar things with tabs that are built into the 3D print, and then they print out the pegs that connect them together. That can work too, but I prefer to use something that's metal, like a finishing nail, because it's going to be dead simple and work every single time. So yeah, if you guys check out the video I did last week on assembling that helmet, you'll see. We'll have a link again. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. You can see how I did that, and I briefly went over how I modeled that into Fusion 360. Thanks, Brent. Next one here goes from Goat Dogs Creations. Have you ever done any resin molding? I plan on trying it soon to make an NCR Ranger helmet from Fallout New Vegas. Yes, in fact, we have a video on that. Bill has a video on that. We need to make that into a shirt. Punished. Props. I believe it was the Bleach mask. Yeah, so Brittany and I, Britt made the helmet, and then we molded it together. You can see a video here. This is a matrix mold. You could do it like this. So, well, this is a slightly more complicated version of making a helmet mold. And then it was slush cast. So most helmets you're going to end up slush casting. Or you could do a brush on mold. And we have a video for that too. That's how Brittany did her masks. Dragon Priest masks. So again, we'll link to both of those videos in the show notes. You can go check that out. The basic idea for a brush on mold. I don't have a helmet. I can show you. Let's say my head is the helmet. You brush layers of silicone all over it until you have a nice thick chunk of rubber on there, and then you put a layer of something more rigid, the mother mold or jacket mold, on there, usually with a seam so you can pop it apart, and then you peel that off your master, and then you put it back together, and you slush cast in some plastic resin, and Bob's your uncle. But again, we have videos on all of those. Head on over to punishprops.com to check that out, and we will link to both of those in the show notes. And when I say we, I mean Brittany, because she's awesome. Thanks, Britt. Next one comes to us from Kamikaze Pigeon. My brother wants to make his a full-blown set of T-45 power armor from Fallout 3 completely on his own. I've lent him my Foamsmith armor book, and I've even sent him a playlist of yours and Evil Ted's foam videos to help him, but he's too intimidated by the whole process. Do you have any advice for him? Yes. Start with something less ambitious, or maybe just focus on the helmet. But I would probably the power armor is a really ambitious build. Start with something that's maybe not as big, maybe not as detailed. And don't worry, there's probably plenty of things your brother's really into that he'd have a fun time building. That power armor project isn't going anywhere. You can come back to that project at any point. Especially when you have more space, more tools, and more skills. So, there you go. And don't feel bad about that either. One of the first projects I ever wanted to do was the space armor from Jim Raynor's armor from StarCraft 2. I bought a bunch of plastic. I ruined it for 2 days, and then I gave up. And I haven't returned to that one since. So, yeah, there you go. Don't worry about abandoning that one and moving on to something a little bit less ambitious. Hey, Spicy Tie Design is here. Welcome to the chat, buddy. All right, let's get we got a couple more here. Barry Peppermint Gamer says, what is a random cosplay making thing that you didn't realize until you actually attempted it? For example, how physically demanding sanding can be. I knew that from my childhood. I did a lot of sanding as a kid. Or example, how mentally taxing certain cosplay can be to wear, or how darn tiring cons might be, that sort of thing. Something I didn't realize until I actually attempted it. That is a very interesting question. I'll tell you what, it took us longer than it should have to get in on the 3D printing thing. I mean, I have a background in 3D modeling. It seemed like it should have been a good fit, but I stuck with the more traditional stuff or I should say I just didn't get into the 3D printing thing until an opportunity presented itself. But it's definitely the sort of thing I probably should have gotten into a couple of years earlier, because once I did, I hit the ground running. I have a lot of fun with 3D printing, 3D modeling. I currently have 4 printers now, which is awesome. What else? Let me try and think of something else I didn't realize until I actually tried it. I will say, so this is more of a general response, but there are a lot of techniques that you really can't get the hang of until you give it a go. So, for example, vacuum forming seems really straightforward, but until you actually do it, and you start realizing like the shape of things and the height of things and how it needs to go, like spider webbing can be a huge pain. Until you actually do it, there's no way to really know how it's actually going to go. Mold making is a similar way. Like it's not until you do a couple dozen molds before you finally like, all right, I finally get it. I see how bubbles work and fluid dynamics and all that. So a lot of that stuff is just like, oh, I think I know how to do it, and then you do it, and you don't know how to do it, and then you do it more until you gradually learn how to do it better. Thanks for the question, Barry Peppermint Gamer. That's a good one. A couple more here. Oh, everyone's excited to see Santa in the chat there. That's our buddy Spicy Tie. Hope things are well in New Zealand. Jeff would like to know, how would you approach repainting foam armor? I want to repaint an old costume that I painted with spray paint, but I'm not sure if I could just spray over the whole thing again. You might sand it down a little bit. Just take some like 220 grit sandpaper and just rough it up a bit. You don't have to remove all of it. You're going to paint back over it again, but I would definitely give it a good rough up before you're going to try and repaint it. But yeah, just rough it up a little bit. Maybe a Scotch-Brite pad or some 220, and then paint it over again. Paint it the way you did it before. So there you go. Let's grab one more here. Naz wants to know, I'm making a very large mascot style head for cosplay from Ratchet & Clank. That would be awesome. Trying to battle the weight. Do you think it would be lighter to have a 3D printed shell for the head, or make a mold and cast the head of expanding foam? I would actually, let's see, Evil Ted has a video. He did a video with our pal Holly. Whoop, there it is. Doing a mascot build out of upholstery foam. So they figured out a small scale pattern. You could do the same thing with your mascot head. They sculpted it a rough shape out of foam. Made a pattern out of it. Like that. They put it on a projector. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it, but he put it on a projector to scale it up, and then they use that pattern to make the base shape out of an upholstery foam. This is a squishy foam, and then that got cut and seamed and put together. Obviously, we will link to this video in the show notes, but you can see giant scaled up version of that little thing they made, and that is going to be super, super lightweight. And that is how mascots and mascot heads are made. So once again, we will link to that in the show notes for you to go check out. Thank you, Evil Ted, for doing the legwork, buddy. And that's it. That was the last question that we grabbed from the chat. Thanks, you guys, so much for bringing in the good stuff. A lot of great questions today. A lot of awesome stuff. A lot of fun projects you guys are working on, and I'm always excited to see them. Of course, you can share whatever you're working on in the Prop Tart Facebook group. Head on over there and join the group and see what's going on. Maybe join the Go Prop Yourself Challenge this month and make yourself a robot for 20 bucks. Dr. Constantine says, will there be tacos tonight? I don't know what's for dinner, but there are 3 peanuts on my desk right there, and I'm going to eat those immediately. What else do we have? We got videos coming out. Me and Evil Ted made Nerf guns. So here's mine. I try to go with kind of a Destiny theme on mine here. Ted's got his brain saw over there. Both of those videos go out on Monday. And when they go live, there will be eBay auctions for either one of them. So you could potentially buy mine or Evil Ted's, or both if you're rolling in Benjamins, as the kids say. They're going to be for sale on eBay, so you guys can go and bid on those. It's a little bit of a competition. Ted and I are going to see who goes for more, and you know, for bragging rights. So yeah, those are coming out in the next couple days. Thank you, Ted, for hanging out this last week. You're an awesome dude. Imagination to Form is rolling in pennies. That sounds uncomfortable. You guys are awesome. That's all we have for this week. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you all next week for another exciting edition of Prop Live Q&A. You guys keep being awesome.